I knew the moment I walked into the resort that this weekend was going to be a disaster. My name is Naomi Carter. I am 29 years old, and I was standing in the marble lobby of the Tidewater Grand Resort in Charleston, South Carolina, watching my younger sister, Vanessa, float across the room in a designer sundress, surrounded by people who hung on her every word. She hadn't seen me yet, or maybe she had and was pretending she hadn't. I pulled my suitcase toward the front desk, acutely aware of how out of place I looked. Simple jeans, a white button-down, sneakers, no makeup, hair pulled back in a low ponytail. I looked like someone who'd just gotten off a bus, not someone attending a luxury wedding weekend. The clerk checked me in with polite efficiency, handed me a key card, pointed me toward the elevator. As I turned to leave, I heard her voice. "Naomi, oh my God, you actually came." Vanessa. She was walking toward me with that practiced smile she wore in all her Instagram photos, the one that looked genuine but never reached her eyes. "Of course I came," I said. "You're my sister." She hugged me, quick, perfunctory, like checking a box. "I wasn't sure you'd make it. I know you've been busy." The way she said busy made it clear she didn't believe I was busy at all. "I made it work," I said simply. She glanced at my suitcase, my outfit. "You didn't bring anything nicer?" "I have a dress for the wedding." "Good, because Ethan's family is very particular. They notice things." Ethan Blackwell, my sister's fiancé, the man she'd been dating for 18 months and had somehow convinced to propose after 6. I'd met him exactly twice, once at Thanksgiving, once at Christmas. Both times he'd barely acknowledged my existence. "I'll do my best not to embarrass you," I said quietly. Vanessa laughed, like I'd made a joke. "You're funny. Anyway, I have to run. Rehearsal dinner starts in 2 hours. Don't be late." She left before I could respond. I stood there in the lobby for a moment, surrounded by wealthy strangers in expensive clothes, and I felt exactly like I had my entire life, invisible. The rehearsal dinner was held in a private dining room overlooking the ocean. Long tables, white linens, flowers that probably cost more than my monthly rent. I arrived exactly on time, found my name card at the far end of one of the tables, next to a couple I didn't know. Vanessa was at the head table with Ethan and his parents. My parents were seated nearby. They waved at me, briefly, then turned back to their conversation with Ethan's mother. I sat down, smiled at the couple beside me, introduced myself. They were polite, asked what I did for work. I hesitated. "I'm a consultant." "Oh, interesting. What kind?" "Urban development, infrastructure planning." They nodded, lost interest, turned to talk to each other. I picked at my salad and tried not to notice how no one from my own family had come over to say hello. Halfway through dinner, Ethan stood up, tapped his glass with a fork. The room went quiet. "I just want to say a few words before we get too deep into the wine." Polite laughter. "I'm marrying the most incredible woman I've ever met. Vanessa is smart, beautiful, ambitious. She knows what she wants and she goes after it." He looked at her, she beamed. "And I'm grateful to be joining such a wonderful family. The Carters have been so welcoming, so supportive." He gestured toward my parents, they raised their glasses, and then his eyes landed on me. Though I have to say, not everyone in the family is quite as ambitious. My stomach tightened. I mean, Naomi's here, which is great, but I can't help but wonder what it must be like to be, still figuring things out at almost 30. A few people laughed, uncomfortably. Ethan grinned. "What do you even do all day when you're unemployed? Must be nice, right? No responsibilities, no pressure." The laughter got louder. I felt my face flush, hot, humiliated. Vanessa was giggling behind her hand. My mother looked away. My father stared at his plate. Nobody said anything. Ethan raised his glass. But seriously, Naomi, if you ever need career advice, I'm happy to help. I know a thing or two about success." He winked. The room erupted in laughter and applause, and I sat there, frozen, staring at my plate. Ethan sat back down, leaned over to whisper something to Vanessa. She laughed. I stood up, quietly, grabbed my bag, and walked out of the dining room. Nobody noticed. Or if they did, they didn't care. I didn't go back to my room right away. Instead, I walked out onto the terrace, let the ocean breeze cool my burning face. I stood there for a long time, hands gripping the railing, trying to breathe. Ethan had just humiliated me in front of 50 people, called me unemployed, implied I was a failure, a burden, and my family had laughed. I should have been angry, but mostly I just felt tired, because this wasn't new. This was the story of my entire life. Growing up, Vanessa was the golden child. She was 2 years younger than me, but from the moment she was born, she was the star. She was outgoing, charming, the kind of kid who made friends instantly and excelled at everything she tried. I was quiet, bookish, the kind of kid who preferred reading to parties. Our parents adored Vanessa, showed her off, bragged about her accomplishments. Me, I was background noise. When I got straight A's, it was expected. When Vanessa got a B+, it was celebrated. When I got into a good college, my parents said, "That's nice." When Vanessa got into the same college 2 years later, they threw a party. I learned early on that I would never be enough, so I stopped trying to be. I focused on my work, my studies, my career, and I built something they knew nothing about. After college, I got a job at a small urban planning firm in Atlanta. I worked my way up, quietly, methodically. 5 years ago, I went freelance, started consulting for developers, city planners, architects. I was good at it, really good. I specialized in infrastructure logistics, the unglamorous stuff, water systems, traffic flow, energy grids, the kind of work that nobody notices when it's done right, but falls apart catastrophically when it's done wrong. I made a reputation for myself, not a loud one, but a solid one. And 3 years ago, I landed a project that changed everything. A developer in Charleston was building a luxury resort, oceanfront, 200 rooms, conference spaces, fine dining. They needed someone to manage the logistics, to make sure the build didn't destroy the local ecosystem, to navigate the permits and zoning laws and environmental regulations. They hired me. I spent 18 months on that project, worked with architects, engineers, city officials, and when the Tidewater Grand Resort opened last year, it was hailed as one of the most successful developments in Charleston's history. I was listed in the credits, buried deep in the fine print, the way I liked it. Nobody in my family knew, because I'd stopped telling them about my life years ago. Why bother? They didn't listen anyway. I stayed on the terrace until the rehearsal dinner ended, watched through the windows as people filed out, laughing, drinking, heading to the bar. Ethan was in the center of it all, arm around Vanessa, telling some story that had everyone laughing. My parents were nearby, smiling, proud. I turned away, and that's when I saw him. Ethan, alone, on his phone, pacing near the lobby entrance. His back was to me, but I could hear his voice, tense, urgent. "I told you I'm handling it. Nobody's going to find out." He paused, listened. "Because I've been careful. I covered my tracks. There's no way they can trace it back to me." Another pause. "Look, I don't care what you have to do. Just make sure those records stay buried." He hung up, ran a hand through his hair, then plastered on a smile and walked back into the bar. I stood there, heart pounding. What records? What was he hiding? The next morning, I woke up with one goal: find out what Ethan Blackwell was lying about. Because he was lying, I was sure of it. I'd spent enough time around people in finance to recognize the signs. The way he name-dropped companies without specifics. The way he talked about deals but never mentioned numbers. The way he wore expensive clothes but didn't seem to actually work. So, I did what I do best. I dug. I started with LinkedIn. Ethan's profile said he was a senior executive at Harrington Capital Management. Impressive title, vague responsibilities. I clicked through to the company page. Harrington Capital Management, based in New York, financial services, wealth management. I opened a new tab, searched for Harrington Capital Management news. Nothing recent. I searched for their leadership team, found a list of executives, photos, bios. No Ethan Blackwell. I frowned. Maybe he was lower level than he claimed. I went back to his profile, looked at his work history. Before Harrington Capital, he'd worked at a firm called Apex Investments. I searched for Apex Investments. The company had shut down 3 years ago, folded after an SEC investigation into securities fraud. My stomach tightened. I kept digging. Ethan's college, Wharton School of Business. I pulled up the Wharton alumni directory, searched his name. Nothing. I tried variations. Ethan Blackwell, E. Blackwell, Ethan B. Still nothing. I sat back, stared at my laptop screen. Either Ethan Blackwell didn't go to Wharton, or Ethan Blackwell wasn't his real name. I spent the rest of the morning pulling threads, every claim Ethan had made, every job, every degree, and piece by piece, it all fell apart. The finance executive job? Fabricated. The MBA from Wharton? A lie. The deals he bragged about? Stolen stories from real executives. Ethan Blackwell wasn't successful. He was a con artist, and he was about to marry my sister. I found Vanessa in the bridal suite that afternoon. She was getting her nails done, surrounded by bridesmaids, champagne, laughter. I knocked. Waited. One of the bridesmaids opened the door, looked me up and down. "Can we help you?" "I need to talk to Vanessa. Alone." Vanessa rolled her eyes. "Naomi, I'm kind of busy right now." "It's important. Unless someone's dying, it can wait." I stepped into the room, closed the door behind me. "Vanessa, I need to talk to you about Ethan." The room went silent. Vanessa set down her champagne glass. "Excuse me?" "I've been looking into his background, and there are some things that don't add up." She laughed. "Oh my God, are you seriously doing this right now?" "He's lying about his job, his education, maybe even his name." Vanessa stood up. "Get out." "Vanessa, listen to me." "No, you listen to me. You've been jealous of me your entire life, and now, on my wedding weekend, you're trying to ruin it. I'm trying to protect you. I don't need protection from you. I need you to leave." The bridesmaids were staring, whispering. I pulled out my phone. "Vanessa, I have proof." "I don't care. Get out, now." I looked at her, really looked at her, and I realized she wasn't going to listen, because she didn't want to. She wanted the fairy tale, the perfect wedding, the successful husband, and I was threatening all of it. I turned and left. My parents found me 20 minutes later. I was sitting in the resort's garden, trying to figure out what to do next. My mother sat down beside me. My father stood, arms crossed. "Vanessa told us what you said, Naomi. What were you thinking?" "I was thinking Ethan is lying about who he is, and she deserves to know." My father scoffed. "You don't even know Ethan. You've met him twice." "I know enough." "This is jealousy," my mother said. "Pure and simple. You can't stand that Vanessa is happy." "That's not true." "Then why are you trying to sabotage her wedding?" "I'm not sabotaging anything. I'm trying to tell her the truth." My father leaned down. "The truth is, you've always been difficult, always causing problems, and we're done making excuses for you." My mother nodded. "If you can't be supportive, maybe you shouldn't be here at all." They left, and I sat there, alone in the garden, wondering if I was crazy, wondering if I'd made a mistake. But then I remembered Ethan's phone call. the panic in his voice, and I knew I hadn't. The wedding ceremony was beautiful. Oceanfront, sunset, white chairs, flowers everywhere. I sat in the back row, alone, watched Vanessa walk down the aisle in a dress that probably cost more than a car, watched Ethan smile like he'd won the lottery, watched my parents cry happy tears, and I waited, because I'd made a decision. If Vanessa wouldn't listen to me privately, I'd have to do this publicly. The reception was held in the resort's grand ballroom. Dinner, dancing, speeches. I sat at a table near the back, picked at my food, waited for the right moment. After dinner, the speeches began. The best man, the maid of honor, my father, all talking about love, about forever, about how perfect Ethan and Vanessa were together. And then the MC announced that anyone else who wanted to say a few words was welcome. I stood up, walked to the microphone. The room went quiet. Vanessa's eyes went wide, panicked. Ethan's smile faltered. I took the microphone, looked out at 200 faces, and I spoke. Hi, for those who don't know me, I'm Naomi, Vanessa's older sister. Polite applause. I wasn't planning to give a speech, but there's something I need to say. Vanessa was shaking her head, mouthing no. I ignored her. Ethan, you gave a speech last night about success, about ambition, about how some people have it and some people don't. He shifted in his seat. You implied I was unemployed, a failure, someone who doesn't contribute. The room was silent now. And I let you say it, because I've spent my whole life being underestimated, and honestly, I've gotten used to it. I pulled out my phone, opened a folder. But here's the thing. I'm not unemployed. I'm a consultant. I specialize in infrastructure development for luxury properties. I turned to face Ethan directly. In fact, I worked on this resort, the Tidewater Grand. I spent 18 months managing the logistics, making sure it got built on time, on budget, without destroying the coastline. Gasps, whispers. So when you mocked me for being a nobody, you were standing in a building I helped create. Ethan's face went pale. But that's not why I'm up here. I tapped my phone, brought up a document. I'm up here because I spent the last 24 hours looking into your background, and I found some interesting things. Vanessa stood up. Naomi, stop. Your job at Harrington Capital doesn't exist. I called. They've never heard of you. Murmurs, louder now. Your MBA from Wharton? Not in their alumni database. Ethan stood. This is slander. Is it? Because I also found records from Apex Investments, the firm you claim to work for, the one that shut down after an SEC investigation. The room erupted. I found a photo from their website from before they were shut down. I held up my phone, showed the screen. A photo of a man, older, different hair, but the same face. This man's name is Marcus Caldwell. He was convicted of securities fraud 3 years ago, served 18 months. I looked at Ethan. Want to explain why you look exactly like him? Ethan's jaw clenched. That's not me. Isn't it? Because I also have a copy of his fingerprints from his arrest record, and I'm happy to have them compared to yours. He lunged toward me. Security grabbed him. The room exploded. Vanessa was crying, my mother was screaming, guests were pulling out their phones, and Ethan, Marcus, whatever his name was being escorted out, still insisting it was all a misunderstanding. The wedding was over. Not officially, but effectively. Guests were leaving, Vanessa was in her suite, my parents were in damage control mode, and I was standing on the terrace, watching the ocean. I heard footsteps behind me. Vanessa. Her makeup was ruined, her dress wrinkled. She didn't say anything at first, just stood beside me. I'm sorry, I said quietly. Are you? I'm sorry you had to find out like this, but I'm not sorry I told you. She was quiet for a long time. I didn't want to believe you. I wanted you to be wrong. I know, but you weren't. I looked at her. No. She wiped her eyes. I've been awful to you, my whole life. I didn't argue. You were always smarter, more focused, and I hated that. You didn't seem like you hated anything. You were the favorite. Because I performed, I played the part, but you just were, and I couldn't stand it. We stood in silence. For what it's worth, she said finally, I'm glad you were here, even if I didn't act like it. I nodded. She walked back inside, and I stayed. The next morning, I checked out early. The resort manager stopped me at the desk. Miss Carter? Yes? I just wanted to say thank you for your work on this property. It's been a tremendous success. You're welcome. He handed me an envelope, and this is for you, a bonus from the developers for exceeding expectations. I opened it. A check for $50,000. I stared at it. They wanted you to know they appreciate your discretion and your excellence. I folded the check, put it in my bag. Thank you. I walked out of the resort, got in my car, and drove away. Away from my family, away from the drama, away from people who would never see me, because I didn't need them to. I saw myself, and that was enough. My name is Naomi Carter. I'm 29 years old, and I'm not invisible anymore.